Okay, so I'm staring at this diagram you pulled for our research,
Yeah.
and honestly, my brain is just refusing to process the scale here. I mean, you see the Empire State Building.
It's impressive, right? 449 meters all the way up to the antenna.
Right, but then I look at the shape next to it, this ship, and if you just lay the building down on its side, the ship is actually longer.
And, well, a whole lot heavier. We're looking at the Seawise Giant.
Or the Jar Viking.
Yeah.
Or Knock Nevis.
Or Mont. Yeah, she had a few names.
Why so many?
Because she lived a lot of different lives. But no matter what was painted on the hull, she was always the largest self-propelled ship ever built. We're talking 650,000 tons fully loaded.
I can't even picture that.
It's what naval architects call a limit case. It's basically us testing just how big we can go before, physics starts to push back.
Well, looking at the origin story here, it seems like physics pushed back almost immediately. It says she was commissioned in Japan in the mid-70s, but the original buyer, he just backed out.
He did, yeah, a Greek businessman. He apparently saw the half-built hull at Sumitomo Heavy Industries and just got cold feet. So you had this massive, incomplete steel skeleton just sitting there.
Until CY Tung comes into the picture. The articles describe him as wanting a statement piece.
Exactly. He didn't just want a tanker. He wanted the biggest ship in history for the sheer technological prestige of it. But to make that work, the engineers had to get really creative.
With this steel beam concept I see highlighted.
Yeah, but it doesn't just mean they used a lot of beams. The ship was the beam.
Okay, what does that mean?
So imagine a really long ruler floating on water. If a wave lifts the middle, the ends will droop down. That's called hogging.
Got it.
And if waves lift the ends, the middle sags. That's sagging. And a ruler that's almost half a kilometer long would just
snap. It would snap in half.
Precisely. So they designed the main deck itself to act as the top part, the upper flange, of a gigantic box beam. The deck was the structural spine holding the whole thing together.
That's wild. And yet, I'm looking at the specs. Steam power in the late 70s. That feels a bit 19th century for such a futuristic ship.
It was a 50,000 horsepower steam turbine. Huge. They picked it mainly for reliability, but yeah. As diesel got more common, that steam engine made her incredibly expensive to run.
But I'm guessing high fuel bills turned out to be the least of her worries.
Oh, by far. Jump forward to 1988, the Iran-Iraq War.
And it says here she was hit by parachute bombs.
She was carrying Iranian crude oil in the Persian Gulf. Bombs hit, she caught fire, and then she actually sank in the shallow water there.
Wait, she sank? I thought this was a deep dive in an engineering marvel, not a shipwreck.
That's the most amazing part. The insurers declared her a constructive total loss.
Which is just fancy talk for scrap metal.
Pretty much. It means it costs more to fix it than the ship is worth. She was a wreck on the seabed.
So how are we still talking about?
Because that steel beam hull we mentioned was so over-engineered, so tough, that it actually survived the fire and the sinking. It was salvaged, refloated, and towed all the way to Singapore for what was basically a massive second build.
That's just insane resilience. To go from a total loss to, well, back to being the world's biggest ship.
It takes a certain kind of vision to look at a disaster and see a foundation for something new, Which honestly connects pretty well to what our sponsor does.
You're thinking of Ember Silk.
Right. Building that ship meant integrating thousands of complex systems. Ember Silk does that same thing, but for digital foundations. They help businesses integrate AI agents and automation.
Yeah, if you're trying to figure out where AI can actually make a real impact for your business, not just add noise, you should really check them out at embersilk.com.
Exactly. It's all about that smart integration. Now, back to the ship. She's reborn in 91, but this brings up a good question. Does biggest actually mean best in the real world?
I'm guessing no, because I see a note here about the English Channel. She couldn't. She couldn't even fit.
Not a chance. She was too deep for the Suez Canal, way too wide for the Panama Canal.
So the biggest ship in the world can't use any of the world's major shortcuts.
She had to take the long way around, everywhere. And physics of just moving her were kind of terrifying. If you were at full speed and had to stop, it took 5.5 miles, about 9 kilometers.
That's not a vehicle, that's a drifting continent.
Eventually, the economics just didn't work, but she adapted one last time. In 2004, she became the Knock Nevis, a stationary storage unit off the coast of Qatar.
Ah, so if you can't fit in the port, you become the port. You just park in the ocean and let smaller ships come to you.
That's it. She spent her last years as a massive storage hub. Even her anchor, which is in a museum, now weighs 36 tons. Just the gear to hold her still was a monument.
And she was finally scrapped in 2010. Looking at the industry today, we haven't built anything bigger since then.
We haven't. The industry sort of realized that a well-balanced fleet is much more practical than a maximum size one, but she remains this just inspiring pinnacle of what 1970s engineering could achieve.
It really makes you wonder, though. With modern materials and, I don't know, AI-driven design, we could build something twice our size today. The question is, will we ever have the daring to try it again?
That is the question.
If you enjoyed this deep dive, please subscribe to the show.
And hey, leave us a 5-star review if you can. It really does help get the word out. Thanks for tuning in.